Greetings, Goddess Body Mind Spirit community. This is Tyrone Milade, your goddess guru, your sister friend, and you know I love helping women align with their life purpose using the power of ancient wisdom and the goddess centered lifestyle. How are you doing today? I just want to say hello to all the hashtag replace the stars, which is everyone today. How are you all doing? And I'd also like to say hello to anyone here who is new. What this video is all about is the astrology for May. Just want to touch on that a little bit so you can get your May started out just right. Yeah, and just before I do that, I'm going to share that I am in the middle of hosting the audio summit. I've talked to some of you all about this audio summit. It's the Magic of Spirituality for Modern Success Micro Audio Summit. It is dropping on May 5th, and you can register today. The details are in the description box. And yeah, I've been wanting to host the summit for years now. And oh, I just saw that I have a misspelling. How did I not see that? I've looked at that box multiple times. Anywho, I've been wanting to host a summit, and those big summits, I just was like, that's not for me. I don't want to host it. I'll participate. But then I decided I wanted to do a micro audio summit, and I invited some of my friends, some of my fellow spiritual guides and priestesses and healers and fellow powerhouses. The majority of us listed here are circle facilitators in sistership circles. So, yeah, I invited us to come on and talk about topics that I'm passionate about because what I want is for us to be successful. Y'all know I am all about how do we get ourselves healed and how do we begin also to put ourselves in alignment with our destiny and feel like, hey, I'm making progress. I'm fulfilled. I'm manifesting what I want to manifest. So, yeah, be sure to check out the description box so that you can sign up. And yeah, let's just go on ahead and look at the astrology. Thank you all for letting me share that with you. Okay, so ever since Mercury retrograde, I've had issues with internet. So I really hope that everything is okay as I look at my little internet gauge. Okay, so yeah, this is May. I'm just going to go over the astrology and then do a separate video with a reading in it. Um, so one thing I want to just backtrack on. We're having Mars, well, excuse me, Venus goes into Taurus and Mars goes into Aries these last 2 days of April. All right. So the shift happens at the last minute in April, but this is important because both of those planets are at home. You know, they're in signs that they rule. Venus rules Taurus, rules Aries. And whenever a planet moves into a sign that is home for them, we can expect it to deliver the energy that that sign is all about. And we have been very immersed in Taurus energy because we had the eclipses there last year. And then we have Saturn and Uranus just recently met in Taurus. So there's a lot of energy of manifestation and Taurus topics that are up right now. Things like personal finances, banking, and the earth and taking care of the earth and being more into natural healing remedies. I was even thinking, I bet I'm going to start hearing about essential oils more. I've heard some of the sisters in the community talk about community gardening. I think that anything that has to do with topics that are related to earth and just getting outside more and connecting to Mother Earth, huge topics around pleasure, and because Taurus is simple pleasure, and it's also about food and what we eat. Those are other topics. And also it's about, I really do think something is up with the libraries. I've just noticed libraries in the United States have been under attack and books have been banned. There's something to it. And a lot of it has to do with libraries. We're hearing a lot about libraries. Taurus rules libraries. So maybe with Venus moving into Taurus, what's going to happen is everything that has come up for us, either, when it comes to all things Taurus, we will begin to find that we're able to manifest them. It's easier to do it. So for people who maybe have been resistant in their personal finances to do whatever it is they're supposed to do, Venus being there, you may feel it's easier to actually get it done. Venus is also manifesting, she is a benefic planet. She gives, she's about manifesting. I mean, she rules the sign that is the sign of manifestation in astrology. And then Jupiter is still there until May. And so, or till the end of May. So we have both benefic planets in this manifesting sign. It makes me feel excited. It makes me feel happy. So I think that it's important for us to open ourselves up to more abundance, having a more abundant mindset, opportunities that come our way to manifest abundance and prosperity in all ways. I think will be something that we see while Venus is in Taurus. And so then we're going to see Mars go into Aries. And this is one of the things I kind of want to talk about a little bit today. I see it as a little bit of a blessing because Mars does well in Aries, but it's a little bit of a challenge because Mars is about war and fighting. Now, another thing about Aries, we're going to be driven. We're going to have energy. We're going to be passionate. I love that part of Aries. I love that part of Mars. What I don't like is the war. This is what is, I'm struggling with. And I know we keep hearing that the United States is having problems getting people to register. I don't see that. And maybe it's just because I'm around people whose kids are going into the military, but it's like so many young people, more than I've seen in a very long time, are going to the military. So it could be we see more people going into the military. It could be more people going into things like the police force and any type of job that is about chaos or first responder, something critical is happening. Aries energy is so good for that. And so is Mars. Um, something new is definitely kicking off because we have the eclipses in Aries. And what I think is important to recognize is it's one of the things I've been talking about in my last circle, my last new moon circle that I did. And that is we need to embody this energy of Mars and Aries, to be honest with you. We need to be brave. We need to be courageous. This is what is being required as we move forward. I don't believe in burning ourselves out. One of the things we talked about is being a feminine warrioress or warrior, being a warrioress and taking care of ourselves and having pleasure and those kinds of things too. But yeah, I think that it's just really important to understand that this Mars going into Aries, some of this is kind of kicking off this energy of being Aries like Mars like. But I do think it's really kicking off a new time in the world. I don't like, wow, it's really incredible, to be honest with you. This is April 29th. Mars is not yet moved into Aries. It'll do that on the 30th. And so I'm just asking everybody, if you hear this, say prayers, even if it's past, now that I think about it, the 29th, because sometimes it doesn't happen day of, it'll be like within a week of Mars coming into this new sign, and something crazy happens in the world. It could be violent or it could be destructive or something like that. That's just something I noticed. So I'm asking you all to please just take note of that and yeah, be send some good vibrations out to maybe, just get this warrior energy just to calm down, Mars. I do think there's this energy of innovation, and it's one of the reasons why I think, as scary as things look in the United States, it's things like what I see going on with Mars going into Aries at this specific time that makes me think we have to be moving forward. We can't be moving back where people are losing rights. And it's hard for me to believe that's going to happen when I see things like this. Um, so the other thing, okay, so Mars is eventually going to reach the North Node. And when it does, I really do think, I don't know if I have that mapped out. Let me see here. Mars and the North Node are going to be together around May 19th, but we could go back to like May 17th up to May 22nd. Yeah. That's a time to really, that's a time where something new is really going to be, kicking off. And it could be something that is disturbing. I'm just being 100. I don't really like to feel like I'm being hyperbolic or sharing something negative, but it's just what's true. And I want to give y'all a heads up. Now, Mars meeting that North Node, it's like this intense energy of new beginnings. So it could really like take you in a direction you're already going, but you start going there faster. Or for some of us, it's just like whole new direction, whole new direction. And then the other thing is shortly after that, actually starting around May 23rd through about May 29th is when I think is I'm not excited about that time because that is where we had the eclipse. It was at the 19th degree of Aries. That is where we had that eclipse. And so Mars is going to trigger the eclipse point, and so I just think it's some more energy of new beginnings, innovation, just like this really quick, fast start. But I still think we need to just be cautious around that time, or don't be surprised if we see something that it could be just like shocking, disturbing, that kind of thing. Now, the one thing I will say is that astrology happens to us. I mean, for us, it does not happen to us. So, the eclipse is all about getting us aligned. It's like with our destiny, it's about fated events. So, I think that's really important to take note of. Okay. This is going to help to bring us more in alignment. And it's kind of like working with that drill sergeant who is like, hey, let's go. Right. So, yeah. Um, I think we can get excited about it in some regards. And, something with sports. I remember when I said something about the eclipse recently, I thought something is going to really be big about sports. And I started noticing certain stories about athletes. And I've been really keeping up with women's sports. So I don't know if it's because I'm keeping up with women's sports. It just seems like it's being highlighted. But yeah, um, I find that to be interesting, but I do think it's some new beginnings that are going to be kicking off for people in sports, athletics, maybe even people who are into exercise and working and that kind of thing in that field. Okay, so we're going to have Pluto go retrograde on May 2nd, which Pluto always goes retrograde around this time of the year. The thing to keep up with is, end of May, end of April into the beginning of May, that energy of Pluto is very strong. And so it's this energy of transformation and change and power. And so it's also about purging and releasing. And so we have to open ourselves up to realize that this energy is very intense right now. And so we may be experiencing some of those themes. I don't even want to speak it, but I do know sometimes I remember one time with Pluto going retrograde, Literally, I had plumbing issues going on in my house. A toilet kept running and we didn't realize it and it started coming through the ceiling. Thankfully, everything worked out because we caught it quickly, but it could be things like that coming up, something with trash or purging and pipes, that kind of thing. I am a Scorpio rising, so I might experience those things with Pluto retrograde or that week that Pluto goes retrograde. But as it starts moving forward, um, but as it continues to retrograde, it will it we don't pay attention too much. The reason this one is important is because this one has to do with our Pluto return in the United States, and Pluto is retrograding back into Capricorn one last time. So this will be our last time seeing Pluto and Capricorn in our lifetimes. And so yeah, I think it's gonna be uh woo, yeah, it's gonna be a race to the finish um in the United States. It cannot be a coincidence that this last Pluto going into Capricorn is happening in the same year. We have a presidential election. Wow. And it moves direct like the day before. I think the day before, a couple of days before we actually vote. So this is crazy. But this is astrology. What can I say? So we're gonna have a new moon in Taurus on the 8th. And so, we're starting out the month in the waning moon cycle. So yeah, I encourage you to um prepare yourself for that new moon, especially with Venus being there, Jupiter is still there. Prepare yourself for that new moon, set your new moon intentions, revisit the ones that you are still working to manifest, and just infuse your vision boards and, whatever you have your goals written down on, 90-day plans, infuse it with this energy of the new moon in Taurus. And just to kind of jump ahead, we have Mercury in Taurus on the 15th. So we're ending the Mercury retrograde. And so it's not really until pretty much Mercury goes into Taurus, we're still dealing with that Mercury retrograde shadow period. So we need to wrap up Mercury retrograde, Mars moving into Aries before Mercury actually leaves Mars. I think it's going to keep us working with the themes that came up. What came up for you during Mercury retrograde? It's going to keep you working on those themes. Okay. But yeah, when Mercury goes into Taurus, it'll put our mind on all those things that I talked about for Taurus. And it'll give us more grounded thinking also, instead of being like just popping off, we're going to be mindful, we'll be thoughtful. That's Mercury in Taurus. Um, and then we're going to start shifting into Geminian energy. Like, wow. May 20th through the 25th. Y'all get ready. The world is getting ready to turn into Gemini. With the sun goes into Gemini on the 20th. Venus goes into Gemini on the 23rd. And then Jupiter is in Gemini on the 25th. Wowzers. Now the one with Jupiter moving to Gemini is a big deal. It hasn't been there in 12 years. So that's a really big deal that Jupiter is moving there. We'll have to talk a little bit more in detail. I'm not going to go too in detail, but yeah, Gemini's, it's your turn. Get ready. I personally liked having Jupiter in Taurus because I'm a Taurus moon. But yeah, Jupiter brings growth and expansion. But the thing about Jupiter is it will expand whatever is there. So, if you're doing things that you really want to happen in your life and, it's positive, Jupiter is going to increase that. If you're doing things that are not beneficial, not positive, Jupiter is going to increase that. So that's something to be thinking about. I will say I want to talk about in a different video how I think Jupiter and Gemini is going to put the American, well, probably any press, um, reporters, the press, it's going to come in and like, yeah, a lot of people in the press. It's gonna be like the judge of the press, and hopefully it will help make the press better. Um, Maybe the press around the world will have more rights because I know we have something special here. But a lot of people know that in the United States, everything is so corporatist that even a lot of the press is. And so I just think it's going to bring a remedy for that, or at least expose it. Um, I also think that it's something with comics, because I know a lot of you all like comics like me. So something with the comics is really going to become pronounced with Jupiter in Gemini. And it's the same thing. Like if they're doing what they're supposed to do, it's going to be a blessing. If they're not doing what they're supposed to do, it's just going to magnify it, right? But maybe, and again, I know I'm biased because I really love comics. I think they are genius. And even though they make me feel uncomfortable at times because they can be, ooh, so gangsta with the way they talk and those jokes. But I really see a lot of, first of all, I love comics because I love to laugh. It makes me feel good. But also, I think there's some comics out there that really help to talk about issues in a way that it's truth telling, but by the same token, we can receive it in a way where we're laughing, but it's like, ooh, that was true. Ha ha. Ooh, but it was true, right? Um, so yeah, I do think that. So we're gonna really go into this Geminian time, and it's gonna feel very, very different from Taurus. So I'll give thanks that Mercury and Venus are there in Taurus because I like that grounded feeling. Sometimes air energy, it just has my brain popping, and my brain is already popping, all right. So yeah, we'll be very talkative, and we'll all just have our minds going. We'll be here, we'll be there, we'll be curious, we'll be wanting to learn new things and maybe teach a little bit here and there, working on our skills, doing this, doing that, hanging with this group, hanging with that. Like I always say, Gemini is one of the signs that be doing the most. So a lot of us might be doing the most um, with all this energy moving into Gemini. But hey, at least we won't be super emotional, all right? Because Gemini is not an emotional sign. So we have the full moon in Sagittarius that will be on the 23rd, and I will look at it more at that time. But yeah, the full moon in Sagittarius, come on. It's always, Sagittarius is always a great sign. It's just full of hope and inspiration and optimism. And it's like, I can see the future. I know my purpose, right? So I hope that this is I hope this is a nice full moon. I'll put it that way for us. One where it's kind of like maybe we can see the vision of, we have been working on our plans and we've been working on our goals or whatever, but this is going to kind of like highlight, am I headed in the right direction? Am I on purpose? Or maybe we're going to be able to get an inspirational download that will help to keep us going. So, ooh. So each week I go live on Wednesdays, even though sometimes here lately I've had to post a video instead, but each week, at the very least, I can make a recording and go through week by week the astrology. So overall, this is a pretty good month. I do think we have the challenges that we will see with that Mars energy, but thank you, Mars. We appreciate you with grace and ease. Thank you again so, so much for watching today. I appreciate you. And if you would, please give the video a like. Oh, I can blow myself up. If you would, please give the video a like. It always helps the channel, but it also helps the channel get the videos out to other sisters who could benefit from this. Please know that I appreciate every time you watch, every time that you listen. I am so grateful to you. I am so grateful for you. And also, again, join us in the Magic of Spirituality for Modern Success Micro Audio Summit. Can't wait to see you all there or connect with you all there because it's an audio summit. Have a wonderful May. Peace and love.